Hi, I am here with Bree Smith, who feels like one of Manchester's own because I have seen her in so many shows here. We're talking The Colour Purple at the Lowry and The Wiz at Hope Mill Theatre, West Side Story at the Royal Exchange, the Tour of Wonderland, so many different things. But we are very generous and we do allow Brie, obviously, to go around the rest of the country as well, where she performs, obviously, in shows, but has choreographed, has directed. And we're talking shows like Book of Mormon, Coming to England, Evita, so many different brilliant performances. And she has come back to the Lowry, where she has docked the anchor till the 8th of July for Titanic The Musical. Now, we know you actually have to shoot off and do a matinee really soon. So thank you for squeezing us in and talking to us at Manchester Theatres.
You're very welcome.
So, Titanic, we all know the story, obviously, but everyone who approaches it kind of does it through their own lens, don't they? So, what is the approach of the musical, and how are we looking at it?
Sure. So it's not the film, it's not the Jack and Rose. So if you're expecting that, take that out of your heads. But every single character is based on a true person that was on the Titanic. And it just tells the true life story of what happened to the closest detail possible with a bit of theatrical flair, obviously. But yeah, it's a massive ensemble show. So there's 25 people, and you probably go on a story of about 20 of the characters, so you understand their stories. So it's just lots of different individual couples and individuals' stories, and what happened during the kind of fatal few hours and just before as well, getting on the boat.
Yeah, and you play Alice, don't you? So obviously tell us a little bit about like the real life Alice, because it is based on a real person, but obviously what we will see of her on the stage, because she kind of dreams of a little bit more for herself, doesn't she?
She does, yeah. So my character is based on a woman called Louisa Ethel Bean. But they just changed Alice and then kept the last name as Bean. She was 19 when she went on the boat, so she's very young. She just got married a few weeks before to her husband, Edgar Bean. I can't remember his actual name. It was something like Edward, I think it was Edward Bean was
Yeah.
his real name. And this was kind of their honeymoon, basically. And yeah, she's very excitable. She wants to be in first class. They're in second class. And for him, as a hardware store owner, to even get in second class on the world's first largest floating vessel is incredible, but she wants more. So yeah, to play Alice, I need lots of kind of charisma, energy, excitable, but then she has the kind of tantrums as well. But it's just super fun. It's a super fun role to play.
And I love it when she kind of just she breaks into like the first class areas for a bit of dancing and just is
Yeah,
like, oh, I'm doing this. I
exactly.
related to that.
Yeah, she just snuck in and was like, I could do it as well. And no one noticed. Well, one person noticed, and then yeah.
So when you're kind of approaching a role that's based on a real person, um, obviously you're researching that and you're looking at it. I guess it's kind of really interesting, but because obviously we all know the story and the outcome of the Titanic,
Mm.
was it quite emotional as well? Was it difficult?
It was, and obviously because she survived the Titanic, but she's passed many, many years ago. Um, I had to do a lot of Googling basically, and also went to the Titanic Museum in Belfast, which was incredible. That's what brought it home, seeing an actual deck chair that was on the Titanic, seeing the actual violin that Hartley played, seeing the life jackets. They're all obviously in a glass container, but they're the actual things, seeing the like the dinner menus, seeing what the rooms would have been like. And I think that was our third week of the show. But from that moment, my vision of when I was imagining or looking out on in the show changed because I had a physical, I saw it. Yeah, it's difficult, but it's amazing that I get to do that and I get to actually have a full kind of basis what to base my character on, and then I just obviously add a little bit of theatrical flair
Yeah,
to
a little
make
bit of flair.
it. Yeah.
And obviously, a lot of other stories of the Titanic have approached it really honing in on the segregation of class from first, second, third. And I, I don't know about you, I feel like the musical kind of doesn't do that, and instead it actually looks at what unites the people regardless of the class, and it is those hopes and those dreams, and they're all on that same ship for a reason. The reasons are different, but they're all united, aren't they, by hopes and dreams. Did that kind of help give it a bit more of a positive flavor?
Yeah, I think so. It is, it's point, the class system is very obvious within the musical, but it's not necessarily frowned upon the first. Yeah, yeah, it did. It's just, it's, sorry, it's interesting. That was a really good question. It's interesting because one of Alice's lines is, well, what's the point in being on the same ship if you can't hobnob with them, as in with the first class? Like, what's the point in being on the same ship if we can't hobnob with them? It's bad enough that we have to make do with our tiny little bunk beds they've given us. We're a married couple and they've given us bunk beds. She just thought everyone would be able to mingle with everyone, so that's what she does.
Yeah.
But then you see the kind of hopes of third class and what they want to be, and but then it's right at the end, without giving too much spoilers, but that the class system is like, aha, so first class do get all the privileges and third class do not.
Yeah, it's so, yeah, it's, and maybe this is one of the reasons that people are still fascinated, because it kind of, for ironically, for the ship that sunk, the story of it will not go away. You know, whether it was from when they found the shipwreck in 85, or to the big blockbuster film, or obviously even more recent events in the news with the submarine. And what is it, do you think, that kind of really just still holds people's interest in this historic event?
I think one of the reasons could be because they said it was an unsinkable ship. It was the first of its kind, so big, and it was so publicized as this massive, big, unsinkable ship that's gonna go super fast to America. And there were so many factors that could have avoided it from sinking. It wasn't just one person's fault. There was if one person of each of those factors had just changed something very slight, it may not have sunk. And that's the crazy thing about it, the what ifs. And also the fact that so many people, so for example, when we went to Belfast, because it was built in Belfast and Southampton when it set sail, people's families, it was their great grandmas or their grandmas or granddads or great uncles that were on the Titanic. So they're watching a show about their family. It was, it's amazing.
Yeah, it must feel a bit like a big responsibility, that as well, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right at the end, we have the big memorial board of all the people that didn't survive. And yeah, some people in the audience are seeing their families and their relatives' names on there. It's, yeah.
It is. It's like you say, it's just so many what ifs and everything. And so for someone who is kind of thinking, Titanic musical, aren't musicals supposed to be jazz hands and happy? Which obviously we know they're not, but so they know nothing about it. What song would you maybe say, do you know what, go and listen to this song, and it will give you the idea? Is there like that pivotal song for you that you could kind of say, I've got one, but I want to hear what yours would be?
Yeah, so in terms of joy and comedy, I would say The Latest Rag, which is the big dance number. That's the dance number that Alice sneaks into first class and dances, and it's a big jig and it's fun, and the audience, I'm sure, are clicking and clapping and having a good time. But in terms of listening, like, to the harmonies and the orchestrations and all of that, I would say Godspeed Titanic, which we sing right at the beginning and right at the end as well. That is just a huge choral bit, and the vocals, everything put together is just like, you feel the grandness, if that's a word, of the ship.
Yes, and I was that reprise at the end is so poignant. It's amazing. So I was actually in the audience last night, and it's going to sound stupid when I say this, but there was a couple of moments in the show where I was hopeful. I was like, maybe everything's going to be okay. Maybe it's going to be all right. And it is, because you say, because there was so many what if moments. You're like, no, they're going to make it okay. And I wasn't the only one. There was other people like that, but there was this collective response with shock at things that were said, and gasps at reactions and the different way that people responded to the inevitable, and like tears and the suppressed tears. Do you, as a cast, feel that response from the audience when you're on stage, or maybe, well, in one case you were actually stood quite close to me in the audience, so in the audience as well, do you feel that?
Yes, 100%. That part specifically, when we go off into the lifeboats through the audience, because we're less than a meter from the audience I can physically touch, I can hear and see them crying, see them turning around, looking at me. It's when you're on stage, a lot of the time you can barely see the audience anyway. So you're playing the emotion and you're just being in it. But when you're right there with them, it hits me different for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can hear their response even in there's a gunshot in it, and you can obviously see that that's going to happen, but it's still shocking if it happens, you know. Try not to give spoilers, but yeah, it's an emotional roller coaster for sure.
It is, and it felt very, I don't know, it felt like a unity in the audience last night, like everyone was feeling the same thing at the same time. It was quite powerful. If you could, so obviously we want people to come and watch the show because it is really, really good. We know that money's tight and blah, 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 all that miserable stuff. So if you could kind of give your own show a little bit of a review and say, this is why you should come, what would that be? Why should people come?
Okay, you should come and watch the Titanic because it inhabits love, joy, hope, unity. Yes, there is pain and yes, there is sadness, but the music is phenomenal. If nothing else, the music is phenomenal, and the vocals of the whole cast, the choreography, the movement, the set design is wonderful, and it's just a great 2.5 hours out of your busy days, your busy schedules. Pretty much any age can watch it. Pretty much, I would say kind of 10 years up, but there has been younger people in the audience, all the way up to a 100-year-old person, and you'll get something different from it. You'll be able to relate to a different character, and yeah, it'll just take you out of your world for 2.5 hours, and I think it'll be a really enjoyable evening.
It will. And I can vouch for that. It absolutely will be. So before we let you go and get ready for your matinee, Bree, has it put you off cruising? Would you ever go on a cruise? Are you a cruiser?
I've been on a cruise as a holiday many years ago, and I loved it. And actually, I think I would go on another cruise because of this situation. Everything else is the safety measures on all other boats from 1912 onwards were secure pretty much. And now in 2023, if you look at the size of the Titanic in comparison to a cruise ship today, this is the Titanic, this is a cruise ship.
I know, right?
It looked so small. So I think I would, because they have so many like drills, there's enough lifeboats there, like pretty much everything is put into place.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll put me off.
Thank you so much for chatting with us. It's been really, really brilliant. And go and watch. It is a beautiful, beautiful show. It's on till the 8th of July at the Lowry. And there's still quite a few shows left because we've got matinees going on and things like that. So go along and enjoy. Thank you so much for your time and all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.